Stop talking.
Okay.
Hey everyone, and welcome to Rather Be Playing the. God damn it! No, I gotta
give yourself a second.
I gotta get the laugh out now.
Yeah.
You can put this
is a
in
great
before your theme song.
Yeah, I know.
Before your theme song.
God damn it. Okay. All right. Here we go. Hey everyone, and welcome to Rather Be Playing, the podcast where we talk about how much we'd rather be playing games than getting our pets dewormed. I'm Josh.
That was a good one. I'm Elliot.
And I'm Stevo.
All right, guys, so what the hell are we even doing?
Playing games?
I
Mostly,
think we're
more than we should be.
we're looking for a reason to play games that we buy and don't really buy for the best reasons.
Hey,
do you mean?
a
I
Steam
think
sale
something's-
is as good a reason as any to buy a game for $3.
Yeah, and then when it comes bundled with 20 games you don't want, it's even better.
I just bought the Star Wars collection. This is literally 20 games, out of which I might play 3, but I've heard they're good games, so you gotta do it.
We need to get you on the old Super Nintendo Star Wars games.
I've heard they're good.
Yes.
They're actually releasing it for PlayStation 4, so I think Super Star Wars might already be there.
Yeah. What are the other ones?
Empire Strikes Back and Return of the Jedi? You know, the movies.
Yeah. Lads, we've already got sidetracked. Where were we?
Yeah. Yeah, so that's essentially what we're doing. And we all know each other. We're all in different parts of the country. Josh is in Seattle in the great state of Washington. Stevo is on the East Coast in the great city of Washington. And
Capital City.
I'm in yes, that's a good shout out. And I'm in a town called Easton, Pennsylvania, formerly of also Washington. Actually, we're all originally, or we all met in Washington. We all knew each other in Washington.
In
Actually,
DC.
Josh, you and I go, yes, in the DC, the District of Columbia. But Josh, you and I go way back to rpgamer.com, a little known, or maybe moderately known,
They have a
video
Wikipedia
game
entry.
news website.
They have a Wikipedia entry.
They do. Wow. Am I in it? Are we famous?
No, we're not. So don't worry about it. It doesn't matter.
Right. Crazy times. And Stevo and I worked at a web development company in DC around 2000, around the time you moved out to DC, actually, Josh. And
I know we all went to a DC United game, and I was worried you were going to murder me.
that's right.
Josh likes the beer.
Yeah.
Particularly that day, he liked the beer.
I did.
Oh, that was fun
There's
times.
never a better time for a beer. Yeah. And so we thought we'd do this. We thought, we play video games a lot in our spare time, and we talk about it a lot during working hours.
Don't tell anyone, Elliot. Come on. Jeez.
Yeah. Oh shit. I gotta delete that part. So we thought, let's record these conversations because we just thought they were so goddamn interesting, and we're depriving the world of it.
Yeah, that's what we thought.
So, Stevo, you come from a different gaming background than... Actually, we all come from pretty different gaming backgrounds. Josh and mine are a little longer. Stevo is experiencing the bright, brand new world of exciting old school video games. I'm losing my metaphor.
Well,
he's been recently.
Okay, let's go back to the start, Elliot. I'll tell you a tale about the west coast of Ireland and growing up there as a child who, well, when I was about 4 or 5, I think maybe my eldest brother had a Commodore 64, which was a lot of fun to play for the couple of weeks that I remember us having it.
I played a lot of Carmen Sandiego on that.
Yeah, I don't think we had that one. The one that I used to love playing with my brothers was Bubble Bobble. It was amazing.
Oh,
it's actually
yeah.
on the NES Classic now. So I played that with my brother when I picked up a NES Classic, actually. So yeah, we had a Commodore 64, had a couple of games on it. My eldest brother used to play it way too much, so my parents took it away, and that was the end of was the end of games consoles. It was a sad day, but my dad worked with computers, so there was always a laptop or a crappy old PC lying around. So myself and my brother would steal it and like borrow games off people, or like buy PC magazines with demo discs and stuff on them. So that's where I managed to get my fix.
So what's the first one you actually owned after that, though?
The first game we actually owned, my eldest brother brought back from, he must have brought back from college, I suppose. Does that make sense? Are my years right? I don't know. Or maybe it was high school or something. Would have been Doom 2. Doom 2 and Descent were the two games that I remember. Yeah. Two really classic games, in fairness. Not a bad way to kick things off, you know?
Yeah.
And then myself and my other brother, my middle brother Paul, managed to pick up a couple of other games, as I say, buying them or loaning them off friends and stuff. Duke Nukem 3D, Monkey Island 2, which was an absolute classic, one of the funniest games to this day. Still an absolute classic.
It's the only one of the four I haven't beaten because it's really difficult.
It was, and without like the internet to check and without magazines to look up, I guess you probably could have found it in a magazine somewhere, but not in Ballina, County Mayo. I'll tell you that for sure. And of course, then there were the games that myself and my brother used to like beat each other up over. So FIFA International Soccer, NBA Jam Tournament Edition, those were the competitive ones. Those were the fun ones. So as I say, I know it wasn't a completely deprived childhood, but as I say, it wasn't the same as growing up with an NES or SNES or a PlayStation. Like basically, that was me until going to college, apart from renting a console, renting a Mega Drive here and there, and that would inevitably just be renting Streets of Rage 2 because that was the greatest game ever when I was a kid. But in college, I had a relatively crappy PC, but I could play a little bit. So the big ones that I played were Mass Effect, Dragon Age Origins, and...
You played those in college?
I think so. Does that make sense?
There's no way you played those in college. I played them after I graduated.
Did you?
I think I remember talking about them
Knights of the Old Republic was definitely in college, but maybe the other two were later, were they?
Max Payne was in college.
Oh, Max Payne, of course, yeah. And I remember Call of Duty 2. I played a bit of Diablo 2. I feel like I got to the second area and never finished it. So when did Mass Effect and Dragon Age come out? Are they way later?
Well, Dragon Age was, I want to say 2007 or 6, because it had to be like 2007, because I remember buying it pretty soon after it came out. When I joined the military, so
okay, so you proved me wrong there.
I think it was around that time.
2009.
I would have been in America by then.
Well, no, because I remember buying a 3-pack, like a Best Buy had like a sale where you get 3 games for the price of 2 or something, and I picked up Borderlands, Demon's Souls, and Dragon Age.
Pretty decent games there. Not bad.
Yeah,
you're right. Okay, so my years are way off. I guess I didn't.
I was off too.
I'm trying to think what I would have played in college then. Yeah, I guess the big one for me was Knights of the Old Republic. That game that gave me the BioWare obsession that obviously led me to play Mass Effect and Dragon Age Origins as well.
Yeah.
That was when we really knew that like games were capable of telling real stories and having real characters and really drawing you into a world. But yeah, sorry, go on, Josh.
I was saying it's a far cry from the games I started out with, which would be let's see, Space Invaders, Pac-Man. I had an Atari 2600, so I had the shitty version of Pac-Man, Asteroids, and Combat, which was a lot of fun. Actually, Combat's just 2 really crappy looking tanks going around a screen. You're trying to shoot your friend, or in my case, my dad. So I had the Atari for a while, and then I did have a Commodore 64 at the same time, but that was mostly for educational games like Carmen Sandiego and Who Killed Chet.
How old were you when you had these?
Less than 5, I think. I don't know, maybe 5, somewhere around there.
Wow, yeah.
I didn't get a Game Boy till Game Boy was my first system after that, and I got that when I was 7. So it was It was before that, but I guess it would have had to have been around the time I was like 5 or something. But yeah, it was an interesting set of games to start out with, especially since they were on the Atari, which didn't really, have the whole arcade exact ports, if you will. So, but I was 5. I didn't care. I was shooting my dad with a tank.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. Your threshold for
I wasn't as much of an asshole then, so I'm more of an asshole now.
Were you counting frames per second and pixels?
No. Yeah, I never had a Nintendo or the NES. I had the Super Nintendo though.
You never had one?
No, I've
learned.
I had to.
We talked this out ahead of time, like just a general idea of what.
Yeah, I told you I'm a military brat.
You never had. I didn't know until we're on live recording, not live, but like, and that Stevo played Bubble Bobble. Like that was mind blowing.
So like, I didn't have a Nintendo. I'm a military brat. So like, each base usually had like a youth center where you could go play pool, and usually they had some sort of like a Nintendo you could go play. So I'd go there and I'd not rent, but like, check out Mega Man 2 and go play it for like an hour in the room they had for games. And so I got that's my Nintendo Entertainment System experience, was basically in short chunks at the youth center. One of my friends did have one, so eventually I'd go over to his house and play some games like Super Dodgeball, which is still fun to play. Yeah, I mean, finally got the Super Nintendo though, and then the whole N64 PlayStation era. I wanted an N64. I remember entering some contest by Nintendo. It had like 64 different questions you had to answer, and I don't
Were
remember.
they like Nintendo trivia?
Do you remember how many you got right?
The capital.
I don't know. I don't remember how many I got right because it was all like mail in and stuff. But I remember filling that out. The only thing I remember is that the 64th element is gadolinium. I don't know why, but I remember that.
Hey.
But there was a bunch of things.
That's a good education.
Yeah. I did not win, clearly. And so when my dad came to me and said which one I was looking at getting, he made me do a cost benefit analysis between the N64 and the PlayStation. And see, that would have been like 95. So I was 11. So yeah.
Oh man, you had no choice but to be a nerd after that.
Yeah. So I'm out here just calculating the cost of price per disc,
exercises,
the cost of the system, the amount of selection you have, and eventually landed on the PlayStation, which, to be fair, I look back and it was probably the right choice. Not that there aren't great N64 games, but I got a lot of mileage out of the PlayStation 1. So, and now I have a math degree, so I'm sure that started it. Thanks, Dad.
Hey, there you go.
And from then on, it's all been PlayStation. I had a Wii and a 360, but after a little bit, they kind of started collecting dust. So, yeah, as far as consoles go, that's been it. And then PC, I've been playing PC games pretty much that whole time too, from like Warcraft 1 all the way to now with Doom, the new Doom, and other games. So it's been I've kind of hit the whole gamut.
From Warcraft 1 all the way to Doom.
Yeah.
Oh,
the new Doom.
Yeah.
Crysis? Should I say Crysis? My computer can run Crysis.
Yeah. Crysis. Can your computer run it? Then it's good.
Yeah. Oh god.
Man, so you guys' histories are so much more storied than I thought. I mean, I knew Josh was way deep in the lore, but I thought I had Stevo beat. I think that's the wrong word. Way deep in the maybe I'll just cut this part out.
I had to work for my games, Elliot. I had to try hard. As I say, so I remember my dad would have like a crappy laptop lying around, or maybe a computer, and it would never work, and we would have to like create boot disks just to free up a tiny bit enough RAM just so that we could run like NBA Jam and stuff.
Sounds about right.
It was brutal. Oh, the day we got a sound card. I remember the day we bought a sound card for the Pentium 60. We had a Pentium 60 that my eldest brother had brought home from college, and he had left it there basically for me and my brother to use. So that's
Sound Blaster.
So yeah, the first one I bought was a Sound Blaster 16.
Yeah.
Oh, it was a great day, I can tell you. Oh, and the first 3D card, the first 3D rendering card that could play
oh my
like
God. Voodoo.
Yeah, it was a Voodoo. That could run a Virtua Racer demo on the PC. Yeah. Again, great days. But my first ever console that I ever actually owned myself was a PlayStation 3 that I bought after coming to the US in 2007.
Wow.
So
you got a nice big difference.
yeah. So
yeah.
And then obviously Elliot helped me out, loaned me a few games, the Uncharted series and a few others just to get up to speed, you know?
Get you started on the right foot.
Yeah, absolutely. And
man, I'm gonna go further back then, because I was gonna start with the NES, which is the first console I remember it was the first console I had. But the way you guys are talking about it, it reminds me that the first few games I played were on our family computer, not our Famicom, but our home PC that my dad had. It was a DOS machine that had these really basic games, and I can't think of what Paratrooper, the one where you're the cannon and you shoot out you shoot down the parachuters.
Defender.
No, it's that you're literally just
Missile Command.
This like no, I think it's called Paratrooper.
Oh, maybe I think I know what you're talking about, but yeah, I can't think of the name of it.
Yeah,
I think I played that on my TI-83.
Yeah, I mean. Actually, yeah, literally, I think I did as well. And that's, he taught me how to turn on the computer. He taught me how to type in the command to play the game. And that was my first game. I don't know how old I was. I might have been 4.
It came out in 1982, 5.
So I existed.
Yeah.
Hang on, you didn't exist in 1982.
Yeah, you're 83, dude.
Sorry.
You forgot your
existed
birthday
while this
It's blowing my mind. Elliot's been lying to us about his age all this time.
Sorry, guys. I had to feel older. So my dad got me an NES probably because he wanted me to get off his computer. Now that I think about it,
it's probably the better.
So that was Super Mario Brothers and Duck Hunt and like Mario Brothers 2. I remember Zelda.
So you're such a Zelda fanboy. I figured you had Zelda.
I definitely
you
had
Zelda.
The
original Zelda.
The original Zelda in the gold sparkling.
Definitely had it.
Case.
He definitely had Zelda. Definitely.
And but I sold it like an idiot. Oh man, I sold it after I beat it. My mom had some garage sale years and years later, and I was like, I don't need this, and I sold it. It's not like, I don't think it's one of those $200 games, but it would be nice to still have. But that was pretty much the extent, like those IPs were the extent of the good games I played, like Mario, Zelda. Everything else was licensed games from TV shows and movies that I really liked. So I had like the Ninja Turtles game, which was a lot of fun.
But impossible?
I had Batman.
Bullshit.
It was impossible.
The Turtles game was not fun. Bullshit.
No, yeah, that was facetious. But thanks for picking up. Whoever says that game is fun, Battletoads was a walk in the park. And then I got a Super Nintendo, which I had to save up for. Actually, I started up a Sega Genesis fund because all the kids at school had Sega Genesis, and at the last minute, I got a Super Nintendo with it instead, and continued my my Mario and Zelda Link to the Past. I got into Street Fighter and Mortal Kombat. I had a little brother, so I liked the fighting games a lot more back then, but it was still mostly like Ninja Turtles, Batman, like shitty licensed. Like I never had the Chrono Trigger cartridge, never had Super Metroid, I never had Mario RPG, I never had all these games that I heard about and I knew they were good, but it was like these games were $60-$70 for a cartridge, and if I'm gonna buy it, I'm gonna want to play like the next Ninja Turtle game.
I still have my Chrono Trigger cartridge.
Wow.
That's awesome. Yeah.
I think I do, and I think I also have my Final Fantasy 6 one too.
Yeah. Final Fantasy was another one. I just never, like, I'd see them at Blockbuster and I just, I wouldn't. I don't know. I didn't get into it much until.
Were they targeted at different age groups? Like, were those for older kids, and were you just playing like the DuckTales and Aladdin and that kind of thing? Or
hey, Aladdin was a great game.
Yeah, I did have Aladdin. Yeah, that's true.
Aladdin was a good game, as was Lion King. Fucking hard, but a great game.
I don't know how it was targeted. It was because like as a grown man now, I could still play Final Fantasy and enjoy it. So I'm like, maybe it was targeted to 30-year-olds. I don't know. Like,
I bought Chrono Trigger because it looked pretty in a Game Players magazine, and I was like, this looks really pretty. I should try it. And then it was my first RPG, and I was like, what have I got myself into? Holy shit, this game is awesome.
It's such a serendipitous like way to start off an amazing relationship with video games.
It's been all downhill from there, though. All been downhill from there.
It's true. I think Link to the Past is still the best game I've ever played, and like to think that I peaked at 10 years old with this thing that I do. It's like, oh man, what
are we still talking about games?
Yeah. Nice. And then so like you, I wanted a 64 after that because I was deep into the Nintendo lore. You guys will stick
Just
with that word.
Fanboy. You're a fanboy. We got
it. But it just they kept delaying it. Do you remember that? Like they said it was going to come out, and they said it was going to come out, and they said it was going to come out, and I heard about it from my cousin. That was when it was called the Ultra 64. Yep. And I had all this money saved up for it, and it was just before summer. School was ending, and 64 was going to come out, and I was going to spend all summer with it. I just had these amazing fantasies of just not seeing the sun for 3 months. And then they delayed it again, and the next week I went and got a PlayStation instead. And like you, I think it was a good choice. Not that I don't appreciate the 64 these days, but a big part of that was the games were half the cost of half the price of Nintendo 64 games. But that got me like, I got Wild Arms on a whim. I heard someone talking about it.
I have a Wild Arms story. So really quick. So when I finally got my PlayStation after I did that fun cost benefit analysis, I was living in Fort Carson, Colorado, and the Post Exchange, basically like the department store on bases, had a PlayStation 1 demo set up in the store, and they had Wild Arms on it. I remember going there, like I went there and I must have been there for like 4 hours playing Wild Arms, and I beat like the 3 individual stories.
Oh my god.
I think I beat Lolithia, the first like big boss you fight after everybody joins up. I was like, I eventually had the money to buy the game, but at that time I didn't, after I had to do some, odd jobs and some chores for the allowance.
Yeah.
But I remember going there and playing that like crazy. That and Killer Instinct Gold.
That was 64?
Yeah,
right?
that was 64. They had one of those set up too.
Yeah. Man, yeah. I don't really remember why I bought Wild Arms, but I think it might have just been the clerk at the store was like, yeah, this is okay.
What a rousing endorsement.
Yeah. It seems like quite the salesman. He went on to become head of marketing at Ferrari.
This is good. We don't need to convince Elliot to play games very hard. This will be easy.
No. Sold, sir. And from there I got into my cousin. My cousin was the one who told me about Final Fantasy VII when it was on its way out, and then I got that one, and it just completely blew my face off, changed my entire worldview. But it was one of those games that you play on your system at home, and you're like, how are these visuals even possible? How am I watching this on my stupid TV that I watch cartoons on? How is this even happening? Like, it was just unreal in those days.
And then time continued, and your mind kept getting blown.
Oh my god! When I saw Final Fantasy VIII, I was like, oh my god, the characters look even like more real now. They're proportional, and it looks even better. And it was just an obsession from that point on. I remember when Final Fantasy VIII was coming out in Japan, I decided that I couldn't wait, and I had to teach myself Japanese so that I could import it and play it. And the Final Fantasy VIII demo came out with Brave Fencer Musashi in both Japan and the US. So I was like, that's a great test. So as soon as it came out in Japan, there was a game shop near me in Omaha, where I was living at the time.
Exciting, Omaha.
Called Game Doctors. Yeah.
Game Doctors.
But Game Doctors. So they fixed consoles, but they also put mod chips in them. They like modified them. And I didn't know what was going on. He's like, hey, do you want to be able to play like Japanese games? I'm like, okay. And then they just like give us your PlayStation. They gave it back for $20. And then I bought they sold a few imports here and there, and Brave Fencer was there, and I got to play Final Fantasy VIII way before anyone else, and I played it over and over and over and over and over again in Japanese. And then I would like practice my Japanese. I had my dictionaries and my kanji books, and I'd go through and try to translate word for word for word. Wow. Which is impossible, because once you put the symbols together, they make new words. And The translations are just.
Elliot,
I was out of my element.
I just want to say you are such a goddamn nerd.
That is frightening, dude. What age were you?
So this was in middle school, like 8th grade, I think.
It would have been around that time,
7th grade. So FF7 came out in 7th grade, and I think, and it must have been like the next year when I was obsessing over 8 coming out. Actually, that was how I first got to RP Gamer. Someone sent me a link of like, oh, I heard you like Final Fantasy 7. Here's the early trailer video of Final Fantasy 8, and it was RP Gamer. And that was how I started even going to the site, how I heard about it and ended up working there. Meeting you. So learning the Japanese is what got me to eventually, after college,
Elliot's obsession led to this. God. It makes you feel
not only that, but meeting.
If it makes you feel any better, when I lived in Korea during high school, I was able to get Japanese games pretty easily, and since Chrono Trigger was like my favorite game, I found Chrono Cross, and I played about half of that without knowing what the hell I was doing, and it wasn't enough for me to like go, suddenly go on a conquest to learn Japanese, but it was enough to try and play it.
I was obsessed. I was singularly focused. I was singularly focused. I abandoned it eventually, but I still know the basic alphabet, like the hiragana, katakana, and then when I went to live in Japan, that was useful. So it was a happy ending.
Yeah, I bet you got one of those there.
God damn it, Josh.
My opinion of Elliot keeps dropping the more he talks. So,
yeah, I mean, we're learning a lot about each other just by publicly.
I think I don't want to hear anymore. I don't want to hear any more about you. Please stop.
Oh, no, that's the first 10%. So basically, the rest of my gaming history was like, for the next several years, was an obsession with Final Fantasy. I played FF11 pretty much through college. And I had most of the systems. I went from PS1 to PS2. I got a GameCube, Wii, PS3, 360, Wii U. I already said Wii U, PS4. I got a Switch.
Yeah, you're the only one of us with a Switch, so you at least get to do that.
Nice. But in fairness, I'm the only one with an NES Classic, so make it up for lost time. Make it up for lost time.
That's a great way to do it.
Ugh. So yeah, we've had a bunch of different experiences with all of our different backgrounds with gaming, and I know we've all been playing a few games here. I've been playing Ape Escape 2 and The Order 1886. I know Elliot's been playing Tomb Raider, but really what I want to hear about is Steve. I know you've been playing Super Metroid. How's that going?
It's absolutely fantastic, and again, you're gonna have to take me back. One of you take me back to 1994. What was this like when this came out? Because even watching it now, like the introduction is so cinematic, the music is so atmospheric. It just drags you straight in there. I can only imagine as a kid of, what were you guys, like 10 years old? This must have just blown your minds completely.
I couldn't really say, because as I was saying earlier, in those years I was mostly just playing shitty licensed games. So Super Metroid kind of just came and went for me. I think the only good game that came out around that time that I actually got into at that time was Link to the Past. Yeah. But Super Metroid, I didn't play myself until a couple years ago on the Wii U Virtual Console.
Wait, really?
Yeah, that was my first time.
Oh, Jesus Christ! Yeah. Okay, then. Well, I played it back in the 90s. Maybe not 94 when it came out, but soon after. And back then, Super Nintendo was like the golden age for me as far as Nintendo goes. I mean, Nintendo's got great games nowadays too. Like they're still pumping out great Zeldas and Marios and stuff, but the Super Nintendo was the shit back then. So 94 also had like Final Fantasy 3, and which I didn't get around to playing till later because Chrono Trigger came out in 95, and that was my first RPG. But Metroid, like I had played bits and pieces of the original one, and it didn't really click for me. I think mostly just because I was a lot younger, and the original Metroid, there is no hand holding, and you only get a certain amount of time to play games at the youth center. So I couldn't really make a whole lot of progress before some other kid wanted to play.
Was impossible. I tried booting that up on the NES Classic, and it was just I found it almost unplayable. Might give it another little go once I wrap up Super Metroid, but it was a different level of difficulty, and I didn't even feel that it was necessarily fair in the same way as like Super Mario Brothers and Mario Brothers 3 are, those kind of give you more of a chance. Mario Brothers 3, particularly, you know, it kind of the way it unlocks paths and stuff to give you another chance even when you die and continue. Whereas Metroid, I don't even think there was continues, was it?
Well, you save points. Oh, the original Metroid?
The original, yeah.
No, it was passwords.
Ah, I see. Okay, so maybe if you made a little progress, you could have been able to make it back. But it's a clunky interface compared to, like I found with Super Metroid, the save system is pretty efficient and it's quite forgiving. And as a general rule for myself, what I've been doing is anytime I save at a save point, I also save to the save states in the Wii U Virtual Console. So I kind of tried to play it as if I was playing it, you know, on a Super Nintendo or, you know, just to get more of a feel for how it actually played back then, you know. And
that's honorable. I used the shit out of save states when I played.
Jesus.
I tell you, maybe I should use them more often because the amount of times I have got lost or just gone the wrong direction, or, well, I suppose, how do you account for that kind of thing as well? If you're saving more often, then you're still stuck in the middle of nowhere if you happen to go off in the wrong direction, you know?
Yeah.
Well, I mean, Super Metroid, it's easy. It's relatively easy to get lost in if it's your first time playing, but it's not I don't want to say it's not a terribly difficult game. It's pretty well balanced as far as difficulty. So having the save points are spread out in a decent enough fashion that you're not going to lose a whole ton of progress unless you're just purposefully running past save points. So
yeah, and as well, because I've been kind of meticulous about if I see a power up, if I see extra missiles or is it power bombs or super bombs or any of these things,
power bombs.
I'll try and basically pick them all up. So I'm quite high level at this point. I've got like, I don't know, maybe 10 energy bars. And so basically, even when I get to bosses, it's very rare that I actually have to replay a boss, you know? And some of the bosses are really, really well designed and really interesting as well, you know? But
did you beat Dragon yet? I can't remember.
I haven't
Meridia
quite
boss?
got to Dragon. No, as I say, I beat the snake boss before him.
Oh, okay. Oh, that's right. And then you went the wrong direction because
what's
you're
his
Steve.
name? Like Bontoon or something Toon?
Fantoon's the ghost.
No, this guy's a Toon as well, but I can't remember his name.
Oh, but yeah. So I mean, Super Metroid, they refined a lot from the previous games. Like when I had my Game Boy, I had Metroid 2, which is a decent game. It's a little clunky. It's definitely better handling than the original Metroid, I think. Although Samus is still kind of floaty when you're jumping and stuff.
Yep.
But the whole point of that game, it's not really, the exploration is still pretty linear. Like you have a floor of sorts, and on that floor are a certain number of Metroids that you have to kill. And then once you kill enough Metroids, the lava descends further and you're able to access the next area. So there's very few reasons in the original game to go back and really backtrack.
Yeah.
There's some, but not a whole lot.
Whereas Super Metroid is basically all about that. It's about
it's a one connected world.
Yeah. And when are you going to get your next power up, and what is that power up going to be? And, you know, what are you going to remember from another part of the world that you're going to be like, oh yeah, I've just got this now. I have to go back there and see what's in that direction that I wasn't able to go to earlier, you know?
And in Metroid 2, I mean, there's backtracking for like items and stuff, but not for like mission critical items for the most part. And like, oh crap, I missed a missile tank, you know?
Yep. But again, like Super Metroid, the design of it kind of, it reminds me again of Link to the Past, which I played really briefly. I think I've got about halfway through it or something, and it'll definitely be another one that I have to go and knock off the backlog. While I'm on this Nintendo sprint, you know, it's going to have to be done. But just this perfect Nintendo design, I can tell why people are so fascinated with Nintendo games and why people are so, you know, hardcore fans of Nintendo. Just talk about them as being a level above any other hardware developer and software developer, because these games, they just draw you in, and they do something with a character and a feel that is just unlike anything else. It's just so solid and so fun. And again, I can't say enough about Super Metroid's atmosphere and the music and everything about it. It just seems, I can't believe this came out when I was a kid. I can't believe that this came out on the Super Nintendo. It's so good.
So, and this is kind of an aside, but am I the only one that thinks this? Not counting Breath of the Wild, Zelda games are just top-down or third-person Metroid games.
I guess that's one way of looking at them.
It's the same sort of progression. I mean, maybe less a connected world, although the later Zelda games kind of did a little bit better about a connected world. But you go to a dungeon, you get an item, which allows you to open up a new area, which, you might be in an area you've already been, which gets you a new item, which does, and so on and so forth on the way. It's the same relative progression that a Metroid game has. And again, I know Breath of the Wild is a little different, but at least as far as the Zeldas that came before it always just seemed the same to me. Wow. So I always, when I think Metroidvanias, I always want to add like Zelda in there because it's almost the exact same formula, just a different perspective and maybe a slightly less connected world as far as like the dungeons. The dungeons don't really loop into each other in Zelda, but they're also, there's really no overworld either. So
wow,
in Metroid.
So I'm racking my brain now to try to prove you wrong. But I don't know. I think that holds up at least a little bit. I think of Zelda 2, which did have that side scroll looking style, kind of like Metroid.
Zelda 2 is like the black sheep of the family.
That's more of an RPG, yeah. So it's yeah.
Well, the other thing about Zelda is the obvious thing is it's a completely different setting. It's so much more charming and, I don't want to say childish, but like it's much more upbeat and
hey, those Metroids are fucking cute.
As opposed to plushies.
But yeah, no, definitely that kind of thing where you see something and you're like, you see an item in game and you're like, oh, I want that right now. But there's something blocking you and already you're trying to rack your brain. It's like, what could I possibly use to get past that? And, in Zelda, it's the hook shot or it's, using the boomerang to pick something up and drag it back and as opposed to Super Metroid. But you're right, it's the same basic concept. It's just done in a completely different design and atmosphere, But both of those, like Link to the Past and Super Metroid, as far as I can tell, these games still stand up. They're still, I would play these ahead of any other, like modern day game, except the other one that you briefly mentioned there, Josh, which is Zelda Breath of the Wild, which I'm sure we are going to take at least an episode or two chatting about that. But that one, no, that's not just a game. That's a way of life.
Okay, but only if I could talk about Persona 5 for hours on end.
Yeah, it's only going to take us about a year or two to complete that one, though.
Yeah.
Well, as much as I love talking about Super Metroid, which is again a fantastic game, I want to talk about another game that is also amazing. I want to talk about the Order 1886.
Oh yeah.
Now, Elliot,
detect a hint of sarcasm.
Sorry, I think I almost threw up while saying that. So I know Elliot's played a little bit of it, or like halfway of it, and something like that.
And actually, sorry, go ahead.
And I completed the whole thing, and it's just
So I played about half of it, I think, and I stopped. I just hadn't played it in several months. I think it was like last summer last I played it. But then when we started, you started playing it and said you wanted to talk about it. I played a little yesterday and I didn't do anything. Like I booted it up and I played 20 minutes and I was literally watching a movie, or I moved forward and then interacted with an object by pushing the QTE that comes up, the QuickTime event.
You started over?
No. I continued where I left off, and it was it was just like it dawned on me. I mean, I knew what kind of game it was before. I knew like the gameplay is not really there, but taking note of it as it was happening was just mind blowing. It was like I'm just watching this with the controller in my hand, and what's the point? And it was very riveting. The voice acting, the performances are outstanding. The graphics are stunning.
Yeah.
But I'm not playing it. Is the problem.
Yeah, it took me, I don't know, I want to say 8 or 10, somewhere in there, 8 or 10 hours to beat the game, and I about halfway through the game I just started hate playing it. Yeah. Like, it's like, damn it, I started playing this goddamn thing. I'm gonna see it to the end because I know it's got to be ending soon. And it's just
sorry.
What?
Go ahead. You reminded me. Sorry, go ahead.
And so we'll come back to you.
Yeah.
And so the entire time it's just driving me crazy because the game is like you said, it's just beautiful. I mean, it's some of the best graphics I've ever seen.
Even still,
this side of like Uncharted 4. And the voice acting also fantastic, but the story they're telling, I mean, I don't care who's talking. It's just not gripping. It doesn't. I half the time I didn't give a shit what the hell was. Okay, most of the time I didn't give a shit what was actually going on. And then like by the end of the game, when the twists start happening and the end starts building up, and I'm like, oh hey, things are actually happening. Okay, now the game ends, and I'm just. I mean. Potential for a sequel is totally there, and the world is really kind of interesting. The whole Victorian England era type thing with the steampunk and we got Nikola Tesla weaponry and things like that in the game. Mm-hmm. It's a neat mishmash of concepts, which I would like to see, but in a better game.
Yes, in an actual game, if you will.
Yeah, and that's the other thing is the combat itself. It's okay. It's nothing great. I mean, there's a couple weapons, different types of weapons you can use. You can only handle a pistol and a long gun. And the long guns range from like, standard rifle to a thermite gun where you fire a cloud and then you explode the cloud. And then there's like an electroshock weapon. But all I did for most of the game was pretty much just use the pistol because that's all you really needed to do once you headshot everybody.
Yeah.
Did you platinum this, by the way? Or how long would it have taken?
No, to get the platinum, I mean, there's not a whole lot of extra shit to do in the game other than look around for these items that don't do anything except you can pick them up and rotate them. And they're very pretty. Someone spent hours putting detail into like this goblet that you can rotate in your hands. But like there's no point to it. It's just like, okay.
That probably could have been better spent on, I don't know,
making the game
creating
fun.
a real game.
Yeah.
On gameplay.
Yeah, and then of course the last part, which really pissed me off, just because I hate these in general, are all the QuickTime events. I hate QTEs. They're just, it's lazy game design. It's like, okay, well, so I know I talked to you guys about this before with Heavy Rain. Heavy Rain is basically one giant QuickTime event, but like the way it's structured is that it's a story that is dynamic, sort of, to an extent. Based on how well or how poorly you do the QuickTime events.
Yeah, and at least it's a good story, as you say.
I never finished it, so I couldn't comment on it.
Are you serious?
Some people like,
I found it frustrating as well.
Well, it's all QuickTime events. I got about 2 hours into it. Like once, or I think I did like the intro and maybe like one of the next 2 chapters or something like that, and then I just got tired of QuickTime events.
What was the meme? What was it? Press X to Jason? Was it?
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, I got past that part. But like,
so
it was an interesting idea, and I don't begrudge them for trying it. It's just the mechanism by which you actually play the game is frustrating to me.
Yeah. I think a big part of the difference is Heavy Rain didn't pretend to be something it wasn't. You knew right off the bat it was a story, and you were just going to play.
You're just watching along. It's like an interactive book sort of thing.
Whereas the Order sold a totally different package. It sold a third-person shooter from the guys, Ready at Dawn. Was it the studio that... did they do the PSP God of War games?
Yeah, they did, yeah.
And Jack and Daxter, I think, as well. And really, really good games. They did a wonderful job shrinking down these console experiences into this handheld. And as far as I know, this was their only original IP that they did. The Ghost Intern, we'll have to check on that later. But... and so we had high hopes, like, third person shooter on this brand new PS4 console, and it looks impossibly good. Yeah. And it was.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just one of those things. It seems like it was more a console launch title, you know, where they were like, look how pretty this is. Look what we could do with the power of the PlayStation 4.
It was a really good trailer generator.
Yeah, it's a good way to put it, yes.
So is this why you bought the game? Because, like, one of the things that we're going to be coming back to every so often here is our own personal backlogs. How, you know, because of Steam sales and PSN sales, that we're constantly picking up games for $3, $5, $10, and, you know, and, like, why did you buy this? Like, surely you saw the Metacritic score and all the reviews and...
So there was a PSN sale. It was like it was like $5 or something like that, and so I picked it up. I said, "What the hell?" I mean, because I don't always go by Metacritic. Like, for instance, you guys know I've played the game Nier, which is a fantastic game. It's definitely flawed. Combat is okay, but the story is fantastic and the music is amazing. But it was critically panned just because, you know, the actual mechanics of the game are kind of iffy. But, you know, like I said, the story and stuff keeps you going. It's really good. So I don't necessarily always go off of what, like, Metacritic says. I mean, it's a nice barometer. But
come on, then reviewers who you respect and trust, you know? Like, there must have been someone, you know, who said, like, basically, this game is terrible. You're not really playing it at all. Just stay clear of it.
I also knew it was $5, and I was like, you know, I'm just going to give it a shot. Let's just see what the hell happens. That's the cost of, like, a breakfast burrito at the, you know. so I'll just, whatever, I'll try it.
Well, it's funny because you're getting me thinking now that actually this is more like a self-inflicted wound. It's not so much as a breakfast burrito as you, like, basically forcing yourself to sit through a terrible game at, you know, wouldn't you rather be playing something?
No, this is exactly like a breakfast burrito. You buy the breakfast burrito, you look at it, you're like, this is an amazing looking breakfast burrito. Look at the eggs, look at the sausage, look at the potatoes. Oh my God, it's amazing. And then you eat it and you're shitting for 12 days.
You've been going to the wrong burrito place and you've been buying the wrong games, man. This has got me thinking, as I say, from now on, I'm going to be a bit, you know, do a bit more.
I'm not saying I'm not a masochist.
Terrible games in a sale, you know?
I'm not saying I'm not a masochist. I bought Unlimited SaGa twice.
Oh, Jesus.
Steven doesn't get that reference. We'll come back to that later, but just know it's a bad game in a decent series that I like, but the series is also kind of masochistic.
Yeah,
and
but
it was
twice.
I bought it for like $5 once, and then I lost my copy, and I wanted to try it again, so I got it for like $3 that time. So it was one of those ones where I was like, you know, let me give it another shot. So, but yeah,
still no good.
Music is fantastic.
That's one I haven't played. I've only played Frontier and Frontier 2, but neither of them
Frontier
all the way
2
through.
is fantastic.
Frontier 2 is
okay, guys. You got to give me some background here at all. What are you talking about?
So there's a series of games, and we're going way off topic here, but whatever. There's a series of games made by SquareSoft and now Square Enix called SaGa, and it started out on the Super Nintendo.
Mm-hmm.
It started on a Game Boy as SaGa, and then it started out as Super Nintendo as Romancing SaGa. And it
was in the US as, was that Final Fantasy Legend or Final
Fantasy Legend? Yeah.
Final Fantasy Adventure was Secret of Mana. Seiken Densetsu 1.
Yeah.
Okay, so Final Fantasy Legend was SaGa 1, 2, and 3. Gotcha.
Yeah. So the first SaGa game I played Final Fantasy Legend 3 on Game Boy, but the first Romancing SaGa game I played was was SaGa Frontier 2, and it was like, it's a gorgeous looking game. Like, it's all watercolors. It's on PlayStation 1. It looks beautiful. The music's fantastic. The story is actually okay. It's like it's got these two parallel stories that are kind of running side by side.
I feel like you're going to get to gameplay any minute now.
Shut up. Anyway, so the stories are good, and there's two separate storylines, whatever. Anyway, combat is, you know, it's an RPG. You got turn-based combat. The way you learn abilities is by random chance.
Oh.
Like, if you swing a sword, there's a chance you'll learn a sword skill. And the harder the enemy you're fighting, the higher chance is that you'll learn the skill. And that you also level up randomly. Like, if you might gain HP at the end of a fight. You might gain some spirit. You might gain some strength. It's a very odd concept. And I'm sure there's some underlying mechanics that makes it less than random, but I don't know what they are. And so, anyway, Unlimited SaGa took that, and they made this game. And I feel like I should say this for another game, but we might have to redo the intro to add Unlimited SaGa to it. It's got these 7 different characters that have these 7 different stories. I think they kind of, and the characters kind of mix and match, but they replaced the world map with a board game. So like you move space by space, and each space might have a battle on it. It might have a trap on it. It might have treasure on it. It might be nothing. And everything you do in the damn game is run by a slot machine.
Oh my god!
If you land on a trap tile, a slot machine pops up, and I'm sure there's some stats that affect there. Well, there are some stats that you can have that affect, like, are there more safe spaces than bad spaces? And and then in combat, even when you attack, you get 5 actions per turn. You can divvy them out to each character, or you can use one character, use all 5 turns. But everything you do is a slot machine. So the reel pops up, and even if you have learned a new tech, you have to make sure you land on that spot that the tech is on.
So I guess the question is, like, is any of this actually fun? Like, did RPG lovers hate it for the simple reason that if the stats weren't consistent and if they didn't get to build
that specific game, Unlimited Saga, is not fun. The other Saga games at least have some sort of coherence to the way everything works. Yep. Again, I think there's a lot of random chance, but I do think there's some underlying mechanics that are affecting that, so it's not just pure RNG. Mm-hmm. But it works. Like those games actually work. This game did not work, because even a simple thing such as let me cover. So when you attack enemies, they have hit points and life points. In most Saga games, if your hit points drop to 0, you lose a life point. If you lose all your life points, that character's gone forever. In Unlimited Saga, your hit points are like a barrier in front of your life points. And even if you have, it's more like a percentage chance to knock off a life point. So even if you have 0 HP, there still might be a 20% chance that if I punch the enemy, he's still not going to die because I didn't take off a life point. I'm just doing damage to a guy that's got 0 HP and he's not fucking dying. So yeah, there were a million systems in that game that were just horribly implemented, and the only saving grace is that the soundtrack is phenomenal. You should listen to it.
I remember hearing that when it first came out, that those exact words. The game's terrible, but the soundtrack is amazing.
Yeah, it's got one of the best battle themes of any game I've played.
Wow.
Seriously, go look up Battle Theme 1. It's great. Anyway, we've gotten way off topic.
So what was this about? We're doing a podcast?
We were talking about the Order, and let's just say the Order still sucks. Let's just go with that. Let's move on, because I'm afraid we'll get sidetracked with something even dumber.
So that's it was Stevo asking, why'd you do this to yourself? And your answer was, I've done worse. So
yeah, basically, I'm a masochist. So yeah, all right. Elliot, you played. How about let's get you on deck? How about you played some Tomb Raider? Actually, we all played Tomb Raider, but you played it most recently. So
yeah, Tomb Raider 2013. I liked it.
It's a great game.
Great. All right, let's move on.
So I played the definitive edition on PS4, and I never played the original. But yeah, it was gameplay wise, and the things you could do and the way it looked was really impressive. I kept forgetting that this started out as a PS3 game, because it felt a lot like a modern generation game. But what I guess didn't sit well with me, or got kind of old and
I know exactly where you're going with this.
As the game went on, they just punished the shit out of Lara Croft, the main character. Like, she goes through, like, so there's 2 facets to it. There's one where she just gets the shit kicked out of her constantly by in cutscenes by other characters, or by just things happening to her, or falling on her, or her falling through things. And
yeah, there are some seriously gruesome deaths in that game.
Oh, the deaths, yeah, that's...
But is that what you're talking about, or are you just talking about in the cutscenes, the actual ones where you're progressing?
Yeah, the stuff that she gets out of alive is, she shouldn't have. Like,
yeah.
Like, the set pieces where, you know, she leaps, she's sliding down some weird chute, and boulders are coming out of her, or onto her from the walls from behind her, and she has to leap across the chasm, grab a beam that breaks as she grabs it, and she slips down and falls 30 feet and slides down another chute. And it's just like, how is she just barely surviving and still able to...
And that specific scenario happens like 10 times in the game.
It happens so many times. And it was just like... So on one hand, I'm like, this is insane. How can this even happen? What are the odds? It happens so much that it... You know, you see it once and you're like the hotel collapsing in Uncharted 2. That was amazing. But you see stuff not quite on that level, but close to it, happening over and over and over and over again, and it almost numbs you to it. And then also you're just like, poor person going through all this. How and why hasn't she given up yet? Why not just be like,
her friend was in danger. Her friend was in danger.
What I would ask is there an underlying current of sexism here? How come this shit happens to Nathan Drake all day, every day, and you're not concerned about him?
I don't think it happens as much.
Certainly not the
Nathan Drake.
The death cutscenes don't happen, and they're probably the worst thing about it. But.
So Nathan goes through you know plenty of trials, and so like I played Tomb Raider 2013 after I've played Uncharted 4, and I've played the other Uncharted games too. But it's Nathan Drake doesn't go through as much just physical punishment throughout the game. I mean, he might go through some stuff. He does have a habit of falling off of beams. But like, that's about it. I mean, there might be some things here and there, but like with Tomb Raider, Lara's like getting, like she gets not kidnapped, but she does get kidnapped, right? And then she just, I don't even know how to put it. There's just countless times where she's just bouncing off of shit, because she fell or someone shot something next to her, which caused her to roll off of a bridge and fall into the depths, and it's just ridiculous. I mean, or the time when you're in the water and, you got to go left and right. And if you fuck it up, she gets impaled or her head gets impaled on a spike. I mean, it's just kind of ridiculous.
In fairness, I haven't played this Tomb Raider in a few years now. I probably played it. Did it come out early 2013? Or I probably got it closer to Christmas time in 2013, and when it was on a sale or something, and it was a really solid game. But I've also played the more recent one, Rise of the Tomb Raider, which again is a fantastic game. I would say even a level above this one as well. In terms of it actually has the tombs that you have to solve little puzzles and stuff. But remind me, Elliot, like gameplay wise, this still holds up? It's still fun? Did you find yourself tempted to go for platinum or anything? Was there interesting collectibles and stuff?
Yeah, so there's a lot of extra you can do. It's kind of billed as a semi-open world, and there's this big central area once you get far enough into the game that you can kind of explore nearby areas, and there's the quick travel across all your different save points, all the different campfires, and through that you can, they really want you to feel like you can go back and pick up on the things you missed. And did you feel like you
wanted to, or was it more the story that was keeping you going?
Yeah, it was more this, like, I just wanted to get it done. And maybe that's also the nature of what we're talking about here, just trying to get through our backlog. But I find that, I don't know, maybe that's not right to say either, because I think if a game is interesting enough, I'll want to keep playing it. And it was good, but I just didn't care about the extra stuff. The story I didn't really buy. I didn't really buy Laura's motivation for all the shit she went through. I get her wanting to get off the island, but and yeah, I don't know.
Well, she's trying to rescue her friend for most of the game.
She's trying to rescue her friend, sure. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, the supernatural stuff really just...
So basically what you're saying is if I get stuck on an island with you and I get kidnapped, I should just commit suicide because you're not coming.
If you're being held by a cult worshipping a god that is actually real and is tormenting people and bringing ancient samurai back to life, yeah, you can count me out, dude.
You're the worst.
It was just, I don't know. It was like, I was really into it in the beginning when it was a survival story about this ship that got wrecked and this girl that survived and had to fight her way off the island. It was awesome. But as the story went on and it got more mystical and more supernatural, I just...
But
okay, so
isn't this just Uncharted syndrome?
Yeah,
this is
all the Uncharted games do the same thing.
Yeah, how could you blame this one in particular?
That's a good point.
I mean, the Uncharted games start off less as survival and more as like parkour, hidey shooter.
I don't think Uncharted flies off the rails quite as much, though.
Nazi zombies?
You gotta go back and play those.
See, the first one had Nazi zombies. The second one had the Sintamani dudes.
The third one and fourth one didn't have anything supernatural.
No, actually, the fourth one... No, the fourth one didn't, now that I think about it. Just had a lot of guys, a lot of enemies. The third one had the what's his name? I can't remember the bad guy's name, but the sun. He got like all mystical and shit at one point.
Talking about parkour, though, I actually really like the climbing in this 2013 Tomb Raider, as far as I remember.
Yeah, they did that well. They did it well. I mean, it does do a lot of the same stuff that Uncharted did. Because I even remember, I think Uncharted at one point did the pick at one point.
Only
am I misremembering that?
Only 4.
Was it 4?
Yeah.
Okay, it was 4. Okay.
So yeah.
Okay, well, so Tomb Raider did it first then.
Tomb Raider.
I'm sure it might be done.
The Tomb Raider climbing I like better than Uncharted. The platforming stuff I generally like better. I like the survival element is much better. The killing animals and harvesting their parts. It was much like that part was really good. The gunplay was okay. It was about the same as Uncharted, I would think.
The crafting was pretty good in Tomb Raider, as I remember.
Yeah.
I think I was mostly disappointed in the fact that all the actual like tombs are optional side content.
Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, they were fun. There were some interesting puzzles in those. It brought me back to like Half-Life 2 doing physics puzzles for the first time again.
Was there tombs in 2013 Tomb Raider? I thought that was just in the more recent Rise.
Well, there were optional ones, and like you'd go in, you would solve a puzzle with like there was one with a plane that was crashed, and you had to burn these 4 different like pillars that were holding up these like branches, or and you had to knock them by burning them. You would knock the plane down, which the plane turned into a ramp, and then you climb up the ramp to the treasure. And the treasure might be something like it was like crafting components or upgrades and stuff like that.
Can't fault your memory, Josh.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh no, I have a terrible memory. I just remember stupid shit like that. My wife hates me every day because I can't remember simple shit like what I was supposed to get at the store.
But you remember the unlimited SaGa battle system.
Yeah, and I could probably tell you what every treasure chest in Final Fantasy VI holds.
I think we want to call you out on that. No. Someday. I want to put you up to that. I bet you could.
All right, we'll test it out someday.
Yeah, we'll set it up. But yeah, like I think with Tomb Raider you could. I think if you got a supercut of all the shit she survives, all the shit she goes through and survives, your eyes would glaze over by the end, and you wouldn't know anything. Could
be the next Saw movie. You can reboot Saw that way.
Yeah, it was just like torture porn, like.
Yeah, I mean, I think I'm desensitized to that stuff at this point. I mean, both my wife and I have seen all the Saw movies, for instance. So it's just, let me talk about this really quick. So most of those deaths, how do you die? Just explain. Tell me how you die. What causes you to die if that causes those scenes?
Being impaled.
No. What did you fail at that caused you to die?
You fell down a hole.
A QTE.
No, fail. QTEs. Yep. Fucking QTEs again. I hate them. And true. There were a ton of them in Tomb Raider, but they weren't as ridiculous. There was a little bit of leeway in some of them.
Yeah, they were a little more forgiving. And as well, like in terms of the climbing, the animations worked so well with the button press. You felt like you were actually doing something. It didn't feel as arbitrary. It felt like you were taking part in the scene.
Yeah, so I mean, I still hate them. It was just less offensive in Tomb Raider as it was in the Order. So yeah, plus 0.1 to Tomb Raider.
Yeah, I don't want this to be like a we just rag on every game we play because.
Well, no, I liked Tomb Raider.
I want to come back to the positives because overall I thought it was a really great game and I loved playing it from start to finish. It didn't grab me enough to do the extra content, but it was very enjoyable.
No, I liked it. I thought the story was all right. It was serviceable. I thought the voice acting was decent. At least Lara's was.
Yeah.
And then just the minute-to-minute gameplay was pretty good too. I like the variety of weapons, although I tended to stick with like the bow and the pistol just because I'm going for headshots. Most of the time. Yeah. But it was enjoyable. The puzzles weren't terrible. I mean, again, it was a lot of physics-based puzzles. So again, I always harken back. Every time I do a physics-based puzzle, I just flash back to when Half-Life 2 came out and having to do all that over and over again. But
we're gonna have to talk about that game at some point too.
Yeah. Well, you need to finish. You need to finish
to play it. Yeah.
I know. Shit. It's on my list of shames. I'll get to it at some point.
Yeah.
So before we move off Tomb Raider, Elliot, do me a favor. Will you pronounce this word for me? I'm going to spell a word for you, and I was hoping you could pronounce it for me. Lara.
Lara.
You see, you were almost there that time. You were almost there.
He said Laura before. I heard it.
Laura.
Did I say Laura?
I know. Yeah. You did say Laura.
Why do Americans do this? I'll never understand.
Lara
Croft. Yeah. I think they're pretty interchangeable for me.
All right. Yeah. Well, we'll just agree that you're wrong. So the last game we have on the list is one that I've been playing. It's Ape Escape 2. Been playing the PS2 Classic on PS4. And back when I was a kid, when the original Ape Escape came out on PlayStation 1, I played the living hell out of it. And it's a lot of fun. And back in the day, it was kind of heralded as this cool newfangled game, like kind of reminded people of Super Mario 64 with the third person movement and the graphic style. But the interesting thing was that it was the first PlayStation game ever to require the use of dual analogs. The primary reason why is because you have like your weapons and your items and stuff mapped to the face buttons, and then you swing them with the right stick while moving with the left stick.
Okay, so start from the start. Has it got a story? Has it?
Yeah.
So what kind of thing is
it has a very bare bones story. The original Ape Escape, you play as Spike, some kid that works for a professor. What's his name? And there's a evil monkey named Spectre. And all the monkeys that in this area somehow got these like mind control helmets that landed on their heads, and now they're all not conscious but sentient. You know, they can all think now and do stuff. So they've all escaped. Hence Ape Escape. And Spectre's running the show. So your goal is to take your trusty little time net and run around each area capturing monkeys, kind of like you collected the stars in Mario 64.
Okay.
And so Ape Escape 2. Similar premise, except this time you're playing as Jimmy. Although, however, the PS2 Classic on PS4 is the European version, so I'm playing as Hikaru.
Hikaru?
And Hikaru, yeah. And my assistant is Natsumi instead of Natalie. And the voice acting is...
That doesn't sound like the European version. That sounds like the Japanese version.
Apparently, those were the names they used in the European version, because also all the people have... I don't know. I'm honestly terrible distinguishing between British and other. And
as the only European here, I'm going to have to call bullshit on this, Josh.
No, download it. I'm telling you, look it up. It's definitely the European version. And so therefore, the voice acting is just god awful. So I just skip it. There's text anyway. But the same plot. An accident happens. All the monkeys get their hats again, and Spectre's on the loose. And you basically run through each level, capturing the monkeys, and make progress that way. There's boss fights along the way. So in general, it's a decent game. Like, it's a fun feedback loop. You run into a level, you're supposed to capture like X% of the monkeys in that level before you can progress to the next one.
Does it control like Bomberman? Is it top down, or is it more like Spelunky or something? Or
no, it's third person. It's like Mario 64.
Oh, it's third person. Okay.
So the left analog stick moves you. The right analog stick swings whatever item you have equipped. So there's things like a butterfly net, or the time net, which is used to capture monkeys. There's a radar that you can focus in a direction to tell you where a monkey is. There's like an RC car that you move the main character with the left stick, but you also drive the RC car with the right stick. So it's an interesting setup that they have, and how you have to manipulate two sticks at the same time in order to do anything.
I feel like 3D platformers haven't necessarily aged all that well. How does this one fare?
So the main problem with the game is, well, there's two. One of them's big, the other one's not as big. The main problem is that, like most 3D games now, unlike most 3D games now, where the camera is mapped to the right stick, now that right stick is being used to do stuff. Yeah. So the only camera control, at least that I've been able to find, is the L1 button. And all that does is it centers it behind Jimmy or Hikaru, whatever.
So the camera is automatic. You push forward to go forward, and then left turns you as you're running. Left it's not relative movement. So like if I press down, I'm coming towards the screen, or whatever. So and the camera doesn't turn very well like on its own. So I'm constantly pressing L1 to get the damn thing behind Jimmy doing any goddamn thing I'm doing. And it's frustrating. I honestly cannot remember if the original Ape Escape was like that. It probably was, but I played that way back in like when the other one came out, like 98. No, it came out in 99. It came out in 99. And so I was 15. So maybe I did just suffer through it. But I honestly don't remember if it was like that in the first game. It probably was, but it's obnoxious. And is it completely unplayable? Like, are you gonna finish this thing?
It's still playable. I've caught I'm playing through it now. I'm like 30% through as far as capturing the monkeys go. It's still playable. It just it's just kind of frustrating, especially when you get into areas where there's like corridors that, there's turns and twists, and you constantly have to adjust the camera. And the other annoying thing though is that the way Jimmy jumps, it's very floaty, and it like you can double jump, but the first jump does not move you forward very much. You mostly just jump up and forward a little bit, and then to double jump, that pushes you forward a little bit more. It's just a very weird physics, however the hell that works. And it's annoying, but it's not terrible, I guess. I manage. I know it sounds like I'm just shitting on the game, because in general, I like these kinds of games, where you go around collecting these things. It's you get a new item, you go back to a previous level, like, oh, now I got the slingshot, I can shoot that monkey that's up in the tree and then capture him. So it's if you're into like collecting, like collectathon type games like that, it's a kind of interesting game to play. All in all, it's a generally inoffensive game. It's not bad. It's not great.
I gotta be honest, it sounds terrible to me. I don't want to go back and play a 3D platformer from what year did it come out?
This one came out in 2003. The original Ape Escape was 99, I think.
Yeah.
So I remember the original one being a ton of fun, because it was. You said it was the first PlayStation game to require dual analog, but I think it was the first game ever.
Well, the PlayStation was the only one that had. I guess the Saturn didn't have dual analog, so yeah, it was just PlayStation.
Yeah, so it was like this crazy idea of, the Nintendo 64 came out with the analog stick first, and then Saturn. No, Saturn didn't have one. Saturn was just D-pad.
I thought it had it wasn't really analog so much as it did, because Knights had it. Because you needed the wheel pad, or whatever the hell it was called, the circle pad on there to do Knights.
No, I don't think so.
Am I confusing this? This is going to drive me crazy now.
I'm going to look this up right now. Intern be damned. But the novelty of that was a lot of the appeal.
They did have one. They had a 3D controller. Yes, it had one.
But it wasn't the controller that was boxed with the console, was it?
No, I don't. I didn't own a Saturn, so I could not tell you.
I didn't have one
No.
either.
Okay, that's what I thought. Yeah, so I looked up. It came out when Knights came out. Knights was the first game that it used.
So they have that.
So that's why I remembered that
giant disc controller. That's right. So they did come up with and that's what PlayStation did. They had their original non-analog stick controller. Then they came out with a very, very short-lived dual analog controller. And
before they added the shock
quickly to DualShock. So yeah, I remember playing that and being like, "Wow, this is so wild," and really liking how it felt. But I kind of figured that game was more or less just a proof of concept for their controller.
Yeah. Well, and I played it when, like I said, I played the original when I was a kid too, and I'm almost positive I 100% of the game just because I was having just too much fun running around catching monkeys.
Yeah.
But like, and again, I honestly cannot remember if the camera was this bad. It probably was, but I just don't remember. That was
we didn't know what
that was 18 years ago.
Yeah.
So
back then, camera control didn't exist.
Yeah. So it's an interesting concept. It might be a little dated. If you can get past the datedness, it might be worth a play, but I can totally understand if it's just too frustrating. So Steve, fly on out here and you can give it a shot before you decide to buy it.
Yeah. Probably cost me a couple of dollars to pick up, compared to a flight to Seattle. I'm sure that'll be about the same price, basically.
But is that a fair is that giving it too much credit to say if you can get past the datedness when we're just talking about Super Metroid when you don't have to get past the datedness to some things are certain aspects of games are dated less than others, and I think we'll have to we could probably spend another episode talking about this, but like 2D graphics, for instance, don't age as poorly as I think as like those blocky 3D graphics that you had in the early PlayStation game days. I mean, some are better than others. Like I think still people can handle Mario 64 because it's still kind of clean looking, but the PlayStation itself, it's not really gonna. It didn't really age well. But anyway, that's a topic for another time because I could talk for a long time on that. Yeah. So we've gone through the 4 games: Super Metroid, The Order, which was a lot of fun, and then Tomb Raider 2013 and Ape Escape 2. And so next up, just kind of want to go over what do we have on deck. I mean, I know I'm still playing Ape Escape 2, but I've got some other games in my backlog that I've been itching to play for a while, namely Mass Effect, Silent Hill Origins, and Paper Mario: The Thousand-Year Door. All 3 games, different levels of people loving them, but it's just something I've got that I've just been wanting to try out. So I'm not sure which one I'm going to go after just yet, but those are definitely on my radar. How about you guys?
Does the number of hours that one of them is going to take factor into this at all, or knowing you?
Silent Hill will probably take a lot less time than the other 2, but I'll figure it out.
Yeah. Do you guys know off the top of your head how big your Steam libraries are?
How do you
Far
check
too
it
goddamn big.
How do you check it on Steam?
It's a couple hundred. I can do it. I have 398 games.
You got me beat. I think I'm at 324, 325, something like that.
Yeah, it's entirely too many. And I've probably beaten maybe a fourth of that.
Yeah.
That's probably being generous.
I got 261.
Oh, you got plenty of stuff to catch up on then, Steve.
Yeah. We could be doing this for a long time.
Yeah. What are you guys doing next then?
So there's a bunch that I've just been really needing to go through and haven't yet. Like stuff that people talk about all the time that I want to join in the conversation and I can't. So the Dark Souls series, but I'm afraid that I'm not a good enough anything to get through that in time. The Witcher, I'm one of those people that has to play through each entry in the series before I can get to the latest and greatest. So I'd want to do The Witcher 1.
You are never gonna play all the Witcher games. Who are you kidding?
And they're all great for different reasons.
I swear I will.
I particularly love the second one, I have to say, just because that story is just so many layers of intrigue to it. It's fantastic. Yeah. I would even recommend skipping the first one, but only because I haven't played the first one, and that's what I did.
Great. All right, Stevo, what about you?
Well, to my utter shame, I still haven't finished Half-Life 2 or Final Fantasy 7 or a lot of these games that I've missed over the years. What are the other ones that are pretty bad? I've never beaten the Mario Brothers game.
You still have Link to the Past too.
Yeah, you're right. Okay, so the ones that I'm probably going to focus on the next week or two would have to be finishing Super Metroid, which I'm hopeful I've only got another couple of hours to go on that. Link to the Past as well. I'm about halfway through, but all about it. It's a fantastic game, and I'm dying to get it finished. What held me up finishing that was I bought a Wii U and Breath of the Wild, and what can you do? You know, Breath of the Wild takes over your life. That's what happens when you play it. It's so good.
Well, I've got free time now that I've platinumed Persona 5, so I can get to work on these other ones.
You're a sick man. You're a sick man.
I know.
Disgusting.
I know. It's a great series.
I don't know how you do it. Fair play. I'm gonna have to get back to Persona 4 at some point, but as I say, I don't know when that'll be. Yeah, for now, I'm sticking with the Nintendo. It's gonna be Super Metroid, Link to the Past, and then Super Mario Brothers 3. I think I'm in World 6 or something of that. Maybe the Sky World, but
Okay.
can any of you remember it? Does that sound right?
4 was the large world, 2 is the desert, 3 is the water world.
Which
5.
one's the ice one? Is the ice one 5 and then the sky one 6? Does that make sense?
I think that's right. It's been ages since the last time I played Mario 3. But yeah, I mean, it's probably you're probably on 5 or 6 though. I think 7 was like some volcano or fire or something, or maybe that was 8. Fuck, I don't know. Way too long ago. Yeah.
Yep.
Well, we'll get you into some other games like Chrono Trigger and stuff coming up soon, because that's a game I need you to play. You have to play that game.
Chrono Trigger.
Yeah.
I guess I can pick it up on Wii U Virtual Console. Is that the way to do it?
Yeah, I think that'd be the best way for you now.
Yeah.
You don't have a DS, so. All right. Well, in the future, when we do later episodes, I know one of the things we had discussed was having some sort of like a backlog roulette where we each pick like, I don't know, 6 games in our backlog, one of which we're not terribly excited to play. For Elliot, in Elliot's case, that would be a Silent Hill game.
Nope.
because he wets his pants at the mention of horror games.
I just
I want it to be Outlast, because that one was genuinely disturbing. I don't think I even completed it.
Let's get some baby steps in there, though.
Silent Hill is not just scary, though. It's not just jump scares. It's twisted, fucked up shit. Like,
Yep.
It's stuff that you think about
the way it should be.
You look at the world a little different later, and you're like, oh my god, what's the point? Oh man, that stuff is like, I this is coming from a guy who thought the dogs jumping through the windows in Resident Evil was bad, but like I can't. I mean, even it's a PS1 game, for God's sake. Like, the graphics are terrible. Nothing looks real. There's no way it's scary, but it still is. Like, the fog.
That's what they say about Elliot. He can't stomach a Jill sandwich.
God, that was terrible.
Good God.
Just
you're welcome.
Keep your day job. So yeah, in later episodes, we're going to do something along those lines where get those 6 games and we'll roll the dice, and we'll have to play whichever one it lands on, good or bad.
There's got to be at least one absolutely terrible game in there. Maybe one that's way too long. Maybe
oh god,
yeah, something that we bought in a Steam bundle that we never have any intention of ever playing.
Yeah.
Do you want to do that for the next things we play, or? Yeah, because Stevo, you're still playing Super Metroid and Link to the Past.
Super Metroid, Link to the Past, Super Mario Brothers 3. Lads, you're not getting me off Nintendo yet. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, we'll save that. We'll save that one for later. We'll just start thinking of your lists, though. We'll get there.
Yeah, I still have to pick one. Everything I just have this whole list of JRPGs, and I'm like, I'm not gonna find what I need. Something that's the right length, something that's the right kind of game.
Yeah, that's exactly it. You gotta put together a few that are like, 6 hours to 10 hours, something that's actually doable, Although, again, we should probably, to keep things entertaining, maybe we each get to put one terrible one on there for someone else, I'm thinking I might put The Witness on for someone, and you have to actually finish it, or your head has to explode, whichever happens first.
I'm almost done with it, so I can handle it.
Seriously, man, it's a tough game.
I'm almost done with it.
Damn, fair play to you.
All right, I think I'm going to do Metroid Prime.
Oh yeah, is it the whole trilogy or just the first one?
Just the first one. I haven't played it all the way through yet.
Oh, do that. Yeah, go.
Yeah, I feel like that'll be a good one. One of those, see how well it still holds up.
Absolutely, and you can recommend whether I should take it on after Super Metroid is done as well.
I'll recommend it. Play it. Yes. God, what is wrong with you guys?
Yeah, I know. There's a few that I've missed out on, but I feel like I'm better about it these days. It's just those olden it's that era of like all I used to play was licensed games, and then for the next several years I was catching up on old games that I missed, and now I'm catching up on the games I missed during those years, and here we are.
Well, that's what this is for.
Podcast.
So yeah, go find those lost gems you meant to play and get back to us.
All right, we'll do that. In the meantime, if you guys want to check us out anywhere else, such as our website, it will be at what's the name of this again?
Rather be playing podcast.com.
I was trying to say back in my play, which is a totally different podcast.
My God.
Yeah, so I was going to pitch someone else's podcast. Rather be playing podcast.com, or on Twitter at RBPcast, at RBPcast. And we'll see you on there. Feel free to reach out and let us know what you think. What game should we be playing that we haven't played? We could use your help.
Yeah, we'll definitely take some suggestions, because there's tons of stuff that I don't even know about that I probably should be playing. So, all right, guys. Well, we will see you guys in 2 weeks.
See you guys then.
Bye, everybody. Bye, Josh's cat. I can hear her in the background.
Yeah. Yeah, she did show up at the end there.